scratch the surface today, just to kind of get a introduction to how you would build some of this stuff out. So we won't be getting this complicated, but we'll start really small, and then we will get to a bit more complicated interactions as we go through this. So, so I just kind of wanted to share that first. A little bit later too, at the end, I can show more of like an artistic example. There's a cool thing that you can do with like Photoshop files, but we'll save that for the end, just in case anybody's curious about that, because we have talked about maybe making that a Penn State Create session in itself at one point, playing with like photo layers and stuff. So, okay, but what we'll do now, so we'll go ahead and start to dive into the actual mobile application for this then. Now, one thing to know, so unfortunately, this is just iOS devices only right now. I believe there is at least talk of support from Adobe for other devices, but currently it is iOS devices. And there is a limitation to which device. So for example, I have the iPhone 8 Plus, and that's the kind of least version of the oldest version of an iOS device that you can have on here. And the other ones I believe are listed on the Create site. So as long as you have something that runs that's a bit newer, you should be all right to do this. But okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and share my phone screen here. Screen. All right. Okay. Let's make sure this goes. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start. So one thing just to know, we tested this out. Most of the things worked. It might be a little bit delayed, but we did give this a test run the other day, so hopefully this works pretty well. But so I'm going to go ahead and open up the Aero application. And so the one thing you guys will probably have to do when you open this up is you will have to go ahead and log in. So I will give everybody just a minute to do that if you need to. And once you finish logging in, it's going to take you to this page where you're going to start a tour.
And if anyone has any technical difficulties or questions along the way, feel free to just enter them in the chat, and one of our people that are on tech support can help you out privately back and forth if you need help. So just feel free to ask. We've got people here for that.
All right, let's give everybody another minute here. Okay, so if you've gotten into this screen, we're just going to actually skip the tour because we're going to kind of do our own little thing with this. So I'll just show you how to X out of this once we get into it. So unfortunately, you can't just do it right from this. So we do have to go start tour. All right, and so what I'm going to do, so at the bottom of the screen there, you're going to notice a little X. It says like 1 of 27. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to like show you where I'm tapping. So it's the bottom left-hand corner. There's a little X there. And if you just hit this X, that should close you out and bring you to the home scene. Or the home screen, sorry, not the home scene here. Okay. All right, and what we'll actually start from, so we're just going to start from a fresh project. So you can go ahead, and the easiest way to do this, we're just going to hit the plus button in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. All right, and so the first thing we're going to have to do is it's going to have to scan the area that we're in to actually find some surfaces that we can work on. So the way to do this, we're going to just kind of move around. All right, and as we move this around the surface that we have, oh, and I didn't mention this, if the more kind of open space you can have, the easier this will work. But as you move this around, it should start to pick up the surface that you're on. All right, now one issue that we ran into a couple times was there were certain surfaces that were not actually scanning that well. So I'm going to back out of here and show you, so if you're having this issue, what you can do to fix that. So let me go back to start a new one. So my floor here, I was having a hard time trying to get it to actually pick up the floorboards there. So, and it seems to work, but like, I know Ryan had like when we were testing this, had like a solid black painted thing that wasn't picking up. So one thing you can do to help this is, so I'm actually going to lay down. So I just grabbed, I was trying to figure like a quick solution for this. And what I did was I grabbed a sheet that I had. So if you have a blanket or something like that that has like a more defined pattern on it, it might help with this. So I'm going to lay this down just to kind of show you the difference here. So let's say I did that. And now when I scan, so it should pick that up a lot easier then. So if you have something handy, if you are having problems getting it to actually pick up the surface, that's a pretty easy solution for it. But one of my colleagues, Tyler, was also saying that like a piece of paper, like a lined piece of paper, might also work for that. I believe like the biggest trouble we had was with like really white surfaces. So, all right, just give me 1 second to get reset here. All right, so I'm going to scan my table here. All right, and can I get that corner? There we go. And sometimes it helps to move to like different places there. But all right, once I kind of have a scanned area, it's just going to say, so it's going to say, you can see it says tap to create a surface anchor. So I'm just going to just tap on the screen. All right, and then that is going to sort of lock in the plane that I have there. And you can just dismiss this image. You can just hit OK on this for now, because we'll actually go ahead and add some stuff in here. All right, and so if you did that correctly, it should, when you move around, have a little grid that you can work with here. All right, so what we'll do first, we'll just start really, really basic, and we'll just bring in some of the models that are in here. We're mainly gonna work out of the starter assets folder for this, just to keep everybody on the same page so everybody has access. But I will say kind of up front, you can add some more models. You can, if you have your own models, you can upload them to your Creative Cloud folder and stuff like that. But we're going to work mainly within the starter assets folder. So, so to bring something into the scene, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus button in the bottom left-hand corner of the interface. So that little blue plus button there. All right, and that's going to bring up the type of files that I can bring in here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the starter assets. All right, and we'll start real basic here. So let's say I want to bring in a little bit of kind of plant life into my desk area here. So I'm going to choose the plants option kind of right around the middle there. But feel free to, if you want to experiment with other ones, you don't have to set the same thing up. All right, and then so this will show you kind of what you have to start with here. And all I'm going to have to do, so I'm just going to tap the one that I want, and I'll start with the succulent here. All right, and that'll start to load into your scene. So it will take a second to download. You'll be able to see that at the top of the screen, kind of the progress with that. All right, and then so once it kind of loads in, all right, so we should see this. And I'm just going to go ahead and tap my finger. All right, and that will place the asset into the frame here. Eileen, did you log in through your Penn State Access account?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it only shows the toy tutorial. Do other people have other assets?
Yeah.
Ten.
Yeah, you should have all the ones that Dan has. Did you select Did you happen to select your personal account or did you select your university educational account? So it gives you two different account options. I'm
My
betting
university account?
your what?
Yeah, I had to log in with the web access.
Yeah, and then, okay. Interesting.
Maybe try just opening and closing the app just to see if that maybe something just didn't load right.
I could try that. Let's see. Where's the app? I have too many apps on my phone. Okay, so I'm gonna close it.
And while we're trying to figure that out, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Jesse, so you only saw them at first too. Do you know how you fix that?
It took a minute.
Okay, just took a couple minutes. Okay.
Advice is to give it a minute and they could populate.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I'll try
Well,
again.
what we're trying to figure, I'm going to go ahead and just add a few more of these plants in here, just to kind of keep building. So let's say I want a orchid. I'll kind of move this over.
Yeah, it's not giving me any additional ones. All right.
Oh, it might have you in the toy tutorial.
That's the
You
only
have it-
option I'm showing is the toy tutorial, but I'm not in the toy tutorial. Let's see. Start back.
What?
Start our assets, right? Yeah. No.
Okay, well, I'll keep going. Hopefully they will. Okay, so I'm gonna just add a few more of these in so you can see, just kind of place them in. I'll show you with the next one here. So once you have something in here, so you don't necessarily have to place it exactly where you want it. You can move it around and scale it and things like that. So let's say I add another plant in. Oh, which one do I want here? Let's see. Maybe I'll do my tulips. All right. So I'll tap this in, and let's say you wanted to actually move this. So just to kind of show how you can manipulate something once it's in here. So I don't necessarily have to tap it right into a place. If I tap it after I've added it, so you can actually move any of these assets around. So maybe I'll put it back here. And then there's a couple gestures you can do with your fingers to also manipulate it from there. So let's say I wanted to either scale up or scale down. I could take two fingers and just kind of pinch to have this go up or down. All right, I'm gonna move that around a little bit. All right. And then just to show one more thing you can add in here. So we've just been adding these models. And then we'll get an animated one in here, but just to show two. So let's say like maybe you had a picture you wanted to bring in. I can actually bring in stuff from my camera roll. So let's say my camera roll, and hopefully this works. We had some trouble over Zoom the other day, but hopefully this isn't too bad. Let's say I want to bring in my photo from yesterday. Let's see if this goes. I had some trouble with Zoom running yesterday with this, but all right, maybe we'll leave that one. So I'm having some trouble with the pictures, but it should be able to bring that that picture in there once it finishes loading. So what I want to show next though is, so we'll get into something that has a little bit more life into it. So it's nice that we have these plants. but I kind of wanted to show you how to interact with some of the animated starter assets that we have here. So, so I'm going to add a little interactive friend onto my desk here, and make it so that when I tap the screen, something happens with this. So if you go into your starter assets again, let me just cancel if I can. Just delete that. There we go. All right, so I'm going to hit plus. Go to my starter assets, and you'll notice there's a category in here for animated. So that's the second one from the bottom there that we're going to choose. So if I go to animated, basically what all these ones, they have some pre-built behavior into them that we can trigger to actually get it to do something here. So, so I'm going to add in the owl here. So this owl flying. And I'm going to bring that in and kind of perch him on top of my computer. So it's kind of like he's sitting there. So I'm going to go owl flying. All right, and give this a second to come in here. All right, almost there.
I'm gonna try this armadillo. It looks pretty cute. I'm excited.
Yeah, there's a couple in there. You don't have to necessarily do the owl, but I'm going to do the owl. All right, it should come in here. All right, so I'll just tap and place my little owl in the scene here. So then what I'm going to do to just manipulate this a little bit, I'm going to move this around in space and kind of bring it. So right now, the way we've been laying everything out, it's just right flat on the plane that was made. But I want to move this up in space a little bit so that it kind of, again, looks like it's going to be perching like on top of my computer there. So one thing I can do, so I can move this around. And again, if I use 2 fingers, I can kind of scale and rotate this a little bit. All right, but one option, so the one thing that you can't do just by clicking and dragging is so get it to go up into the screen. So what I'm gonna do, there's a couple ways you can do this. One I have, so when I click this, you'll notice at the bottom, you get some options for how you can move this in here. So one of these, I could come in to the option for move. And if I take the Y axis, I can just kind of bring that up. But I can find that to be a little bit frustrating from time to time. So another way you can do this, if you take 3 fingers and just kind of touch the screen, that'll let you do it by touch. So I'm going to bring this up. Maybe kind of bring it back. And something that'll help too, so if you can get up and kind of look from different angles. Maybe just kind of like that. Maybe I'll bring it down just a little bit. All right, so I should have my little owl friend perching on my computer there. All right, but now I want to make it so that there's some kind of life to this, so I don't want them just to be sitting there and staring at me. So we're going to add a animation behavior to this thing, and what we'll do is we'll make it so that when you tap it, it triggers its animation within this. So first, what we want to do, so if you tap on the model that you have, and at the bottom window, we're going to have the option, so where they move, rotate, scale, we're going to choose the behaviors option. All right, so I'm going to go behaviors. All right, and I'm going to hit the, at the top here, once I hit behaviors, I'm going to hit the plus trigger option. All right, and then, so I'm going to do this so you can see the options that you have, so you can make it so that the animation happens right on the start. You can have it when you tap it, or you can do the proximity. That's a bit more complex, so we're going to go just to start. I'm going to use the tap option here. So this means that to trigger it, we will tap the object, and that is going to bring up sort of a flow chart for the actions that you can have here. So now what I want to do is next to where it says tap, I'm going to hit plus action. All right, and then this will bring up a bunch of different options for how you could basically what actions you could take with this object. So for kind of standard ones that don't have animation, you'll have like the spin and the bounce and stuff like that. But with some of these objects, they have these animations built in. So I'm going to hit the top option for animate. All right, and we can just hit OK on this. So this is a bit different than the animations we're talking about. So you can hit OK on that. We're just going to ignore it for now. All right, and then all I'm going to do, so just to kind of show what is going on in this, we're not going to change anything with this, but what this will do, when you go to animate something, it'll allow you to see like what subject you want to animate, which animations you want to play, the play count for how many times you want the animation to happen. So if you wanted it to happen multiple times, you could increase that. We're just going to leave it at 1. And then a few other options like delay, and if you wanted it to be infinite. We're not going to change anything for now, so I'm just going to hit in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to hit that little check, the checkbox that's next to animate here. So let's go check. All right, and at this point, what we want to do is actually preview what this will look like. So right now, if you notice at the top of the screen, we're the home, so we have that home button there, and we've so far just been in the edit options. What we can do is if you hit the preview button here, all right, that'll bring you into a mode where you can actually see what's going to happen. So it'll take away the grid. I can look around and see my plants and stuff. But then when I want, I can actually come in here, and if I tap, so with my finger, just tap this guy. There he goes. I'll kind of look around. All right, and then I can do it again if I want, just by tapping.
Oh, he's adorable.
Yeah, I believe like the armadillo will like roll around on the floor and stuff. There's a really interesting like space one where you could just get this weird blob that kind of sits next to you and stuff.
The armadillo is rolling around my desk, and it kind of like knocks into my wine bottle that I put on there.
All right, so I'll just do it one more time just so we can see it. All right. All right, now, so one kind of the interesting thing about, so we're going to do a separate scene here in a second, but I did just want to show if you wanted to share what this looks like. So unfortunately, they don't have like a good, there are a few options to export scenes out of this, but that's a little complicated. But what you can do, so if you wanted to, you'll notice you have a record button when you're in your preview. So you can hit that. Oops, I gotta have it allow. All right, and I can actually make a little recording of my animation here. All right, and then I just got to allow it as long as I allow it access to my photos. All right, so what that'll just take that video and put it right into your camera roll there. So that's kind of the way we've been sharing. Again, there are some other options for like exporting these like reality files and stuff, but they're a bit much. So right now we'll just stick to the just video stuff. So, okay. All right. So what I thought we'd do next is just to get a little more complicated. So I have all this other space on my desk, but if you want, you can just start from a fresh project too. I thought it might be fun to build out a little forest scene. And build a couple more animated like creatures and things like that in, and then also build on top of that animation so that we kind of end it with having a couple things like rotating around each other and all this kind of stuff. So we'll start really simple, and then we'll really build this out. So if you want, so I'm gonna actually start a new project just because the last time we did this, I kind of, when we got to the end of it, Zoom was really working to keep it going. So you don't have to start a new project. You can just add this into it. But if you do want to start a new project, I'm going to go back to Home in the top left-hand corner. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit plus again to create a new project in there. So, and again, for me, I'm just doing this because I just want to make sure this doesn't crash on us while we're doing it. But you guys probably don't have to if you don't want to. Let me get up and move around. Get it over there. All right. Okay, so I'll anchor this over here. All right, and what we thought we'd build out is kind of a little sort of forest scene. So you notice in those assets there was like a fox that was going around. So I figured what we could do, we can put some trees in here, put the fox in there, and we'll animate the fox so that it's just kind of running around. And then what we'll also do, there's a couple assets. One is a hot air balloon that we can have sort of hover above the scene. And then the most advanced thing too, then we'll stick a plane in there and have the plane orbit the hot air balloon. So that's kind of what we'll build out here. Yeah, feel free to kind of, as far as you get, you can get with this, but should be pretty fun though. So, all right, so what I'll do first, I'll add in my trees and kind of make my little forest here. So I'm gonna go hit the plus button to bring in some assets. We'll go back to our starter assets. All right, and so we have a couple trees we can choose from in the plants option. I'm going to choose the pine tree, but feel free to use whatever you want. You can make a dead forest if you want. We'll have a bunch of dead trees. It might be better for maybe, I don't know, the armadillo or something.
Yeah, some
All right.
cacti.
All right, so I'll bring this in. I'll kind of place this first. All right, and then rather than, so in this case, I'm just gonna, rather than go back and keep downloading the trees, because we just kind of want to make a couple, there is also if you click on this, you'll get a duplicate option at the bottom. So if I just hit duplicate, every time on this, so I can just make a bunch of these, come out a little bit. I'm gonna move them around. So I'm gonna leave a little bit of a clearing for my fox here. All right, so let's have a couple of these. Should be pretty good. And as long as you kind of have that like area where, and we'll be able to adjust this too, but our fox is going to kind of run around in the scene. Okay, so what I will do next then, I'm going to go ahead and add our little creature in here. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to hit the plus button again, go to my starter assets. And go back to animated. And I'll go fox hopping. Or if you want, you can put a T-Rex in there too.
What does the T-Rex do? Does it roar?
Yeah, he just goes
around, knocks all the trees over.
Yeah. Or you can put them all in there if you want to. All right, mine just always, over Zoom, it takes a little longer for my stuff to load. All right. All right, so there's my fox coming in. So I'll tap. All right, and what I'm gonna do too, so he's a bit big right now for the scene. It's kind of a giant fox right now. So I'm gonna click on it. And again, I'm just gonna use my two fingers to kind of scale down a little bit. And I'll kind of move them over here. All right, and then what we're gonna do for this one, so we're gonna add a behavior to this one, but we're gonna make the animation infinite rather than having it triggered by something. So we're just gonna have this so this thing just kind of keeps jumping around as we go. So once you have your fox in there, so again, I'm gonna click on it. I'm gonna go to the behaviors option at the bottom. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hit my add trigger. All right, and for this one, rather than doing a tap, we're just gonna do this on start. So this will mean that as soon as we go to the preview, the animation will just kick on instantly. So I'm gonna hit start. All right, and then I'll do the same thing where my action will be animate. All right, the only thing you'll have to change on this, so we want this, so right now this is gonna be set if you scroll down with your options here. So this is going to be set to the play count for 1, but we want to have it so it just kind of keeps going. So I'm going to go ahead and hit infinite and just click that on. And that way, once we preview this, he should just kind of keep going in this. All right, so then I'll put that in. And I'll go to my preview and we'll see where we're at here. So if I hit preview. All right, it's kind of running into the tree a little bit, but. Oh, so nice little, maybe what I'll do, I'll move this tree over just a little bit. All right. All right, so now let's add in the hot air balloon. So this will be this is where we'll start to get a little more complicated as we go here. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead. Am I back in my edit? Yeah, here I am. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so if you are clicked on something, that's something I've noticed, you don't get the plus button. So if you are clicked on something, make sure you just tap anywhere. And that should bring back up your options to add something. So I'll go ahead and hit the plus button. And I'm going to go back to my starter assets. All right, and for this one, so this was a new category they pretty recently added. So the last one under animated, there's this option for transport toys. Oh, where to find the infinite? Let me just go back to that really quick. All right, so when you are in your behaviors here, all right, and then you could go to your animate. All right, so you're just gonna scroll down in this. And then the infinite button is right here. Okay, cool. All right, let me go back here. Okay, so I'm going to add in one of these transport toy things. So I'm going to go to starter assets. All right, and I'll go to transport toys at the bottom. All right, so you can see some of these. So these don't say it as far as the category, but these all have some animation on them too. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and choose the hot air balloon floating. There we go. Okay. I think this is definitely working better. When we tested this out, by this point, I had so much stuff on here, it started to give me problems, but I think we'll get through this. All right, so I'm going to tap this. And again, so I'm going to probably want this, move my tripod down a little bit. So I'm going to obviously want this to be in the air. So I'm going to use my 3 fingers again to click and kind of move this up. Oops. Maybe we'll just readjust here. All right, how's that? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to move that up, and I can kind of move it in the plane a little bit. I don't know if you can see that too on here. You also notice there's some shadows. So when I move it, you can see the actual shadows from this. Really cool feature with this. All right, and then for this one too, I'm going to do the same thing. Let me see where I'm at here. Cool, okay. So I'm going to do the same thing for this one that we just did for the fox, where we turn on the infinite animation. So again, I'm going to tap this and go to behaviors. And we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. So we're going to add a trigger. It's going to be right from the start. All right, and then I'm going to go to my action, animate, and I'll do the same thing for this one where I'm going to turn on the infinite setting. So turn on infinite. All right, let's see where we're at. So it'll kind of float there a little bit.
It's so cool.
So if you were observing wildlife in a hot air balloon.
Have you ever been in a hot air balloon?
No, I want to though. Maybe I'll make it a little bigger here. All right. All right, for the last animated thing we'll bring in here, so this is where we'll get a little more complex with what we're gonna trigger as far as animations. Because so far we've just been doing pretty simple, but I figured we'd throw in one that gets a little bit crazier here. So let's go back to edit, and I'm gonna add in another one of those transport toys. So I'll hit plus, starter assets, transport toys. All right, I'm gonna add in one of the planes. My personal favorite is at the bottom here. I like this vintage flying plane here.
I'm jealous of your large workspace, Dan.
I may have planned for this a little bit. All right. So I'm going to place this in. Let's place it in here. And then I'm going to bring it up. I'm actually going to go ahead and rotate it a little bit so I'm, oops. So I'm kind of looking at it like this because I kind of want it to be lined up with the hot air balloon for now. And then just kind of look around, we'll see where we're at. It's a little big. Maybe I'll scale down just a little bit. Let's bring this up. All right. All right, and then once again, we're gonna trigger an animation on this like we just did. So, because this does have a built-in one where the plane propeller will move. So we're gonna do the thing we just did in the last two. So I'm gonna go to behavior, and I'll hit trigger. All right, and I'm gonna go to start again. And we'll do an action. And hit animate. All right, and we're gonna do the same thing again. So we're gonna go to infinite. All right, I'll show you where this is at now. So now it's just kind of hovering. All right, but obviously planes don't hover like this, right? So what we're gonna do for our last thing is just to get this a little complicated. We are gonna have this actually orbit the hot air balloon. So it'll fly around the hot air balloon. And then we'll have to add one more trigger to actually get it to rotate so that the plane is facing the right way. But we'll add the orbit in first so you can see sort of how you would build multiple actions on top of each other to start to make more complicated interactions with this. So I'm going to add a second behavior to the plane here. So I'll go behaviors again. All right, and then, so I want to add a whole new trigger for this. So rather than adding another action, I'm going to go ahead and go trigger. Although I guess maybe you might be able to actually do these on the same one, but for right now, we'll keep them separate. I'll go start. Yeah, I guess it's all the same, so you might be able to build it out like that. I guess I just separated it for my own sake of seeing it a little easier. But so we'll add another start trigger. We'll add an action. All right, and for this, I'm going to go to the third from the bottom there. We have the orbit option. So I'm going to hit orbit. And this will be where we have to change the most kind of changing of these settings that we've done. Oh, yeah, the RAM error I did get on something before. Yeah, a couple people had that. But anyway, so once we have selected this orbit, we're going to have to change a few things. So we still want the subject to be the plane, but the center of this we want to change. Right now, it's set to just kind of fly around the camera. So it would just kind of circle my phone right now. But I'm going to change the center just by clicking on it. And I'm going to select the hot air balloon floating. So again, that's the orbit action. Have it go around the hot air balloon. And just to make this a little easier for ourselves, I'm going to go ahead and change this duration because we'll have to put a second thing in here. Right underneath the center, you can change the duration of this. And just to make it easy, we'll go 10 seconds. All right. Because there'll be a second one we're going to trigger in a second. And then this easing. So I don't want this to, like, this would make it if we wanted it to, like, speed up and slow down at certain points. We just want a consistent path around this. So I'm going to change the easing from in and out to linear. All right, so I know that these are a lot of settings, but the very last one I'm going to do is turn the infinite on so that it just continues to circle here. So what this will give us then so now it'll rotate, but it's obviously not going the right direction yet, right? But we have it circling the plane. All right, so the last trigger that we need to get this, we need to get it so that the plane rotates the right way as it's going around the hot air balloon here. So I'm going to add one more trigger to the plane. So again, I'm going to go back to behaviors. Add another trigger. All right, I'll do start again. I'm going to go action. All right, and for this one, I'm going to choose the rotate option here. So I'm going to choose rotate. And I always get these accesses wrong, so hopefully if I did this right, it will go the right way, or if not, we'll just see a really funny result. But I'm going to change the pitch here. So it's the top one. And I'm going to make it minus 180. So I believe the way the orbit goes, so this is actually going to turn to the right. If you go positive 180, it's going to turn to the left, if I did this right. We'll find out here in a second. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. All right, I don't want to change any of the other ones. So the reason we wanted to make the orbit like 10 seconds is so that when we came into the duration here, we could do half of that. Because essentially the rotation, it can't do a full 360. So we're going to make the duration of this 5 seconds because that's half the duration of our orbit. All right. And then again, we will change the last two things, which is ease in and out. We'll make that linear. And we'll go infinite again. All right, if I did this right, it should rotate the right way. Otherwise, it's going to like spin upside down or something, but let's see how we did. All right. Oh, I picked the wrong axis. There it goes. All right.
Oopsies.
We'll try that again. We're going to rotate. Like this one's 0. Like it's the Y maybe. Let's see. They seem to be the opposite of what I always think they are. There we go. So it was the Y-axis there.
Yay!
All right, now we should have our little scene.
That's awesome.
All right. And then one, I'll try to do this here. One bonus feature that I kind of came up with late. I added I downloaded a grass like texture here, so that if I could, we'll see if this works. It kind of failed on me yesterday, but. All right, it might not come in.
While you're pulling that up, Dan,
Yeah.
I took a video of my scene, and if anybody wants to see the first scene I did, there's the armadillo. Oh no, come back. Can you see it? It rolled off. I put some flowers on there. My wine bottle. There he is. It's a different aspect than what I filmed in, but get the idea. And then I went a different route. Instead of a forest, I thought it'd always be cool to have a big aquarium in my office. So I did a jellyfish there, and like a little seafloor plant life there. Play again. The jellyfish is cool. I like how it animates.
Yeah, so it's not working with my picture right now, but like one thing I did the last time, I brought in a picture of grass, and then you could lay that out on the ground, whatever. And I would like that.
Yeah.
If you can, if you want to go ahead and record this, and if you feel like posting it to social media, let me. We have our Penn State Creates hashtag. I'll just stop sharing my broadcast here.
That was so cool. Thanks so much, Dan, for teaching us about augmented reality. Does anybody want to have their video to share? If you want, you can share it now, or you can share it with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just please add the hashtag PSU Creates so we can see everybody's work.
All right.
Aw,
No problem.
it's been definitely the most fun part of her day. Yay.
Yeah, and I would definitely, some of those animated assets are really fun to play around with. One other thing, so I did mention at the end, we've been kicking around, so maybe we'll do this at some point. You can also bring like layered Photoshop files into Aero, which is something we're still playing around with. But I thought I'd show just one last video if I know we're on time here, but just to give you an idea of kind of where like maybe some like digital artists and stuff are thinking about this. I thought this was kind of a cool example of kind of what they're thinking about with this. Oops.
I love painting with my entire body. That's why I love making murals. I just really like the idea of art expanding into three-dimensional space. AR makes that possible for me to create motion on a two-dimensional plane. It's really cool that I can export my Photoshop files into Aero and manipulate those layers in 3D space. I can walk through them. I can see the distance between those layers. It becomes a very real, almost tangible experience. Augmented reality is meant to be shared, and Adobe Aero makes it really easy to share it with my friends and family. When you're using AR, you're seeing a wall, and it's not just a wall anymore. You're basically creating an infinite canvas. It's work that's constantly evolving. I could see myself create.
So that was something that I think we're seeing a really interest in and how you can do that. I know Tyler was talking about, there was some example he saw where somebody had like all these layers laid out, and then like as you went through them, something like you could trigger these proximity triggers and have like all this sorts of stuff pop up or things come in as you got closer to a certain thing. So it really kind of gets in depth. And the other thing I mentioned, there apparently is a desktop version of this in beta. I don't know what that's going to mean, but it might allow you to really kind of do further manipulation and stuff that maybe is a bit hard just to do on mobile. So, but probably still a ways away at this point.
That's really cool. Yay. Thanks so much, Dan. Thanks for teaching us.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you everybody for joining us this week. We hope to be back on May 20th, and we hope you can join us for that session. It's to be determined, so it'll be a surprise. Keep following us on social media to find out more. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.